feels the preparation for today was preparation for the most important fight of his career.
It's real hard, but I think it'll pay off in the end, you know. It's been very hard. I'm running 4 miles a day and sparring anywhere from 4 to 5 rounds a day and hitting bags. And I believe it'll pay off in the fight. So when I first had my first fight, I felt all right until I got there and I saw the TV at ESPN and big James Brody looked like a giant. And I asked myself, what am I doing here? But it was too late then. I had to get in there. I was scared to death, really. And when I went back, I kind of evaluated myself and I thought I could do it. But the fight that really made the difference was the Chris McDonald fight. And when I won the close decision, 8-round decision. I think after that, I signed with my new managers and we got things together.
The desire and the strength were the most important factors in what we saw. What we felt he needed at that time was to go into boxing full-time, to work hard, to get the top trainer in the world. We went out and we got Emil Griffith to be his trainer. There is no better trainer in the world. We took him out of his full-time job as a prison guard. We put him into boxing full-time, working with one goal in mind, and that goal was to be the best fighter he could be, and we felt he had the ability to go on and become the heavyweight champion of the world.
This is serious business to James. When he goes into the ring, that's his job. He goes to the office that day, and he goes to win, because winning means making money.
We got our mind set, on the fight, and we know Bruno's strong. He's a strong puncher. So, we're going to be looking out for that, too. And training's been going real well.
What you have to do to beat Bruno? Condition. When Bruno punches, he punch back. Don't let Bruno bully him. Don't listen to the crowd over there. Listen to my voice. And then we stop Bruno.
The bottom line is I want a title shot, sometime in the near future.
We'll be right back. Marv Albert with the fight doctor, Ferdy Pacheco, and we're closing in on fight time. A matchup of heavyweights upcoming. James Bonecrusher Smith going against London's Frank Bruno. And Bruno is looking to become the first English world heavyweight champ since 1897, when Bob Fitzsimmons captured the title from gentleman Jim Corbett. Here in London, boxing fans are excited about what they consider to be their first legitimate heavyweight contender in years.
I know I can bring it back, but it's just a matter of time and experience and being guided right, which I am being guided right, because I've got the best manager in the business. I've got a lot of constructive promoters behind me, so all I've got to do is deliver the goods.
And Frank has got some magic thing with him that attracts people. People for one reason or another. Some people like him because he can punch, some because he's a nice guy, some just because he's a fighter. But he seems to attract everybody. And what I notice at the fights, it's more like a family show. There's mums and dads, grandmothers and grandfathers, young girls that like the look of him, young fellas that idolize him, and young kids that like him. And it's the first time I can remember in this country that, he's got a mass audience.
The crowd's got a lot to do with it, that on my side, but sometimes I don't hear the crowd, all I just worry about is Mr. James Bonecrusher Smith, as you so call him.
Well, Bruno's a very deceptive fighter. I think if you speak to anybody that's worked with him, he's very deceptive. People are inclined to think that he's slow, which he's not. He may not move his feet as fast as others, but he's got a very quick brain, very quick hands, and he's very deceptive. He's very hard to catch. And I hope he's going to be able to hit James Smith more than James Smith. It's a very intriguing fight. I don't think we really know the full potential of either of the fighters. I think one of them is going to become a star on Sunday. I hope it's our man.
There hasn't been a heavyweight with a lot of charisma, In this boxing game, it ain't just boxing. It's just, you got to have a little bit of style and charisma, and it's entertainment, it's show business, and there hasn't been. Larry Holmes, he's a brilliant champion and everything, but he hasn't just got the charisma of Sugar Ray Leonard. When you see Sugar Ray Leonard on television or something, you say, that's class, And even if it's the Latins, Americans, black, white, pink, yellow, they all look at him, and they all study him. And there hasn't been that in heavyweight. That's why the heavyweight division has died down a little bit. But I think that's going to change pretty soon, to be quite honest. I've got to sell myself as, to the television. That's what makes money. I want to make money. You want to make money. So it's a business, So I think I'll be the next one to come along.
Heavyweight boxing is just ahead, but...
My lords, ladies and gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening, a 10 rounds international heavyweight contest of 3 minutes each round. Between and introducing to you from Magnolia, North Carolina, James Bonecrusher Smith. And in this corner from Wandsworth, Frank Bruno. At the weigh-in today, Smith scaled 16 stone 3 pounds, 227 pounds. Bruno scaled 15 stone 12 and a half pounds, 222 and a half pounds. Your referee, Harry Gibbs, and your timekeeper, Winston Hughes. Thank you.
James Smith at 6'4", 16 stone and 3 pounds, 227 pounds, and Frank Bruno at 6'3". Marv Albert with the fight doctor, Freddie Pacheco. The referee, Harry Gibbs, and he is the sole arbiter, scores the fight. There are no judges involved, scoring on the 10-point must system, but the winner of a round usually gets a half a point more than the loser. And as we saw during our NBC Sports Ringside program, there is no mandatory 8 count. Referee in total command. These are 2 enormous heavyweights.
Remember, the Bonecrusher likes to come out early. He has a devastating punch. Bruno gets hit early.
And as we mentioned earlier, a crossroads test for both fighters because the quality of the opposition on both has to be questioned, although both have impressive records.
Overwhelming favorite. Bruno here, anything he does is going to draw a roar from this crowd. But remember, the Bonecrusher has a sneaky right hand. Already there's a surprise here in that Bruno's people had said he's not going to go out and lead. He's just going to cover up and while away the first round.
And the chant for Bruno.
Bruno's been letting a lazy left hand go out there. That spells trouble with the kind of speed that the Bonecrusher has with his right hand.
Past the halfway mark. Opening round scheduled for 10. Bruno's last fight, 1-round knockout. Stopped Juan Figueroa of Argentina. 67 seconds in. The rap on Bruno is he has been force-fed easy opponents. Making for that record of 20-0, all 20 by knockout. Here's a right hand by Bruno that caught Smith.
Smith shook it off and came back with a hard right of his own. You get the feeling these two guys are really wound up tight. They haven't loosened up yet.
And again, Bruno getting in. And here's Smith right back with a combination. Uppercut by Bruno.
The bout is heating up. It's only the first round, and you can feel that tension in the air.
And that will wrap it for the first round. And here's Frank Bruno coming out for round two, meeting up with James Bonecrusher Smith. Capacity crowd, better than 10,000 at the Wembley Arena in Wembley, England. Bruno has that muscle-bound impression, very rigid, very tight-looking.
He is that, but then again, he's got that knockout record, so he must be able to turn it loose sometime. He does look particularly tight tonight. The Bonecrusher looks very kind of limber and relaxed. He has sort of a whip to his punches.
British boxing fans disappointed earlier as they saw British middleweight champion Mark Taylor stopped in the 7th round, knocked down 5 times in all, upset by a guy considered to be a journeyman in Buster Drayton out of Philadelphia.
Those are those nights that happen in boxing. One never knows what happens on the way to the title. Right now, Bruno's left has been dominating the first and second round. Even though it's a lazy left, it's been hitting the Bonecrusher.
And the crowd again chanting for Bruno.
His left is dominating the Bonecrusher. I can't believe he hasn't crossed over.
And again, the crowd roaring with every contact that Bruno is able to make. Uppercut, but it just grazed Smith.
It's a great idea, but it didn't land. Just grazed him. Bonecrusher getting a little desperate. That left hand in his face, even though it's a lazy left, is beginning to bother the Bonecrusher. Remember, the longer this goes, the more fatigued the Bonecrusher gets, whereas Bruno is a startling physical specimen. Reputed to get stronger with each round, which is bad news for Bonecrusher Smith, who waited an awful long time to get started in his boxing career.
Right hand by Bruno, and then Smith tried to go to the body. Bonecrusher Smith got the late jump in his pro career. 2 years in the Army, one-time U.S. Army sergeant, began boxing in the Army, and a hand injury also delayed his professional career.
Now Bonecrusher trying to out-jab Bruno. Bruno bothering him with that left hand. Bonecrusher doesn't seem to know how to block a jab. Neither man worked the body particularly. That was the first good body shot in a long time.
No contact, although the crowd reacted. Final seconds, second round.
It went on like that.
At the end of round two, Bonecrusher Smith playing to the crowd. They were not exactly cheering him on. This is round three. Frank Bruno in the blue, landing on Bonecrusher, who was able to come back with a good right hand. Bonecrusher on the attack.
He's wild, but he's punching with devastating effect. But Bruno's been able to outbox him thus far. Little support from the crowd. The danger of that is that Bonecrusher can wear himself out with an all-out attack like that.
Again, Bruno looking to land with the uppercut.
Bruno is outboxing Bonecrusher. That left hand is the key. He's setting him up with a left hand. He's been able to outbox him when Bonecrusher comes in wild.
These two do have one common opponent, Walter Santamore, a fourth-round knockout victim of both Smith and Bruno. He claimed that Bonecrusher Smith is the harder puncher.
Now, right now, he got hit a good right hand by Bruno, and it slowed him down considerably. It's only the third round, and Bonecrusher's already showing signs of wear and tear. Fatigue is creeping into his motions.
Again, a grazing blow.
Bonecrusher's legs are standing still. They're not moving. Bruno measuring him carefully. But watch the lack of motion on the part of Bonecrusher.
And under a minute left, round 3, scheduled for 10. Bruno continues to flick the left hand and keep Smith away. Smith with that enormous reach, 81 inches.
You would think that Bonecrusher would be out jabbing Bruno, but the other way has been the way. For 3 rounds now, it's been that left hand of Frank Bruno that's been dominating the fight. All of a sudden, Bonecrusher looks like an old man. He can't go back. He totters back.
Good counter by Bruno. Final seconds, third round. We'll be back right after these messages. And Bonecrusher Smith out for round 4. Referee Harry Gibbs checking in the corner of Smith a moment ago. Check the ear. Looked like there was some blood just to the left of the left ear of Smith, and his trainer, 6-time world champion Emil Griffith, checked it out. Apparently he's all right.
It's a little nick on the ear. He was worried that the blood coming from inside the ear would be more significant, of course. Again, the dominant left of Bruno has opened this round. Get the feeling Bonecrusher has to husband his energy. He can't let it go all out at the beginning of a round like he did that last round, because he died for the rest of the round. Good right hand, but good counterpunch by Bruno. Seems to have Bonecrusher in trouble.
And again, this crowd responds to Frank Bruno. Past the 1-minute mark, round 4. Bonecrusher Smith looking very tired.
Bruno able to just pop that jab in there with impunity. Nothing going on Bonecrusher's jab. He's just sort of pawing it out. It's either being blocked or it's a foot short. That uppercut that's been landing all night's getting harder. Every time it lands, it looks like Bonecrusher's knees buckle.
And Bruno going to the body of Smith.
That's an important fight for both these guys. They're heavyweights, and there's nothing going on in the upper heavyweight division, and 3 champions to pick from, which means that whoever wins and wins decisively here has got an open golden road.
And the British have had many heavyweight hopes to have cracked the top 10 and then been horribly exposed. The hope in England is that Frank Bruno is shaping up in a different manner. Go back to Henry Cooper and Ryan London, Richard Dunn, Joe Buckner.
Well, of that lot, Henry Cooper was really the genuine prospect. He was a wonderful fighter, but he cut and bled too much, but he was a genuine article.
And all of those folks met up with a fellow by the name of Muhammad Ali. Wrong era for others.
He just hung in through too many eras. He just kept meeting them all.
And Bruno ending the round with a flurry. Crusher Smith has gone as far as 8. Bruno has gone as far as 7. In that 7-round bout, Bruno had his difficulties with Jumbo Cummings. It stopped Cummings in the 7th. Last May, stopped Scott Ledoux in 3. Cummings and Ledoux, the only known opponents on the knockout ledger of Frank Bruno, is 20-0, all 20 by knockout. With the fight doctor, Bertie Pacheco, Marv Albert, Wembley Arena in Wembley, England.
One of the things that's happened to Bonecrusher is he's getting no help from the corner. In the corner, it's only Emil Griffith, who was a marvelous 6-time world champion, but he can't do the work of 3 men. He should have someone massaging his arms. He should have someone working on his feet to get the circulation going on his legs.
Oh, the right hand by Bruno on a counter got in on Smith.
You're looking at the same type of fight we had a few moments ago with Buster Drayton and Kaler. Bonecrusher is being so dominated that he needs to get one of those big bombs in there, as his countryman Buster Drayton did on Mark Taylor. And with heavyweights, anything can happen.
That was earlier today on our ringside show with Drayton pulling the surprise, stopping Kaler in round 7.
Here's a case of a man looking exhausted, looking for that one good shot, being peppered by that left hand. And the other man looking fresh. Bruno looks fresh. He's boxing his kind of fight. He's calling the tempo. He's dominating the fight.
Right to your toe. Step back.
Referee Harry Gibbs.
Face of Bonecrusher etched with fatigue. Bonecrusher patiently fighting his fight, trying not to take a chance.
Right.
And again, Gibbs getting involved.
What's inside? Underneath, Frank. Underneath.
Now, Bonecrusher needed this round to catch his breath if there was ever a time, because up to now, he's been getting so tired at the end of every round that he's having a hard time making it back to his corner.
And Bruno has slowed down considerably in this round.
Both needed a rest. I think their tension was very high.
Final seconds, round 5. And James Bonecrusher Smith, 29 years old, from Magnolia, North Carolina, farm town of 2,500. Says it's a town without a traffic light. He is in the red. Record of 13-1, 11 by knockout. Frank Bruno in the blue, 22 years old, local hero out of London, 20-0, all 20 by knockout. Interesting matchup because both fighters in their previous bouts dominated their opponents because of their mammoth proportions. Bruno at 6'3" and Smith at 6'4".
That's what makes this fight such an interesting crossroad fight, also because they're on the verge of the Golden Road. But both of them, as you can see, are a rather raw product. That's pure power going on in there right now. Not that much boxing skill, although Frank Bruno is dominating with his boxing skill. His jab has been controlling the action, and of course contributing a great deal to the fatigue of Bonecrusher, who's looking for his one good shot. And as we saw previously this evening, that's all it takes.
Go! Get closer! Get one! Right! Get back!
And we're halfway through. Round 6 coming up on 10:30 in the evening. Here in London, you saw the uppercut thrown by Bruno and a right hand by Bruno.
You get the feeling that Bruno, if he stepped on the gas, could finish this. But quite possibly, knowing what happened to Mark Kaler earlier with a surprise knockout, he's being very cautious. Terry Wallace in his corner. very cautious manager, likes to take things easy and let it come. He doesn't want him to get crazy.
Under a minute left, 6th round. And Smith going very wide with his punches.
Emil Griffith yelling, do it, pleading with him.
Good combination by Smith.
And Bruno should not be there on the ropes. Bruno should not be there on the ropes. He's getting hit.
Coming up on 15 seconds left in the 6th round. Good.
He should move away. He's staying right on.
Excellent flurry by Bonecrusher Smith.
Best round he's ever had.
Marv Albert, Bernie Pacheco from Wembley Arena in Wembley, England. We're located about 10 miles outside of central London. And it's James Bonecrusher Smith in the red, Frank Bruno in the blue. Smith with a good conclusion in round 6. How do you have the fight thus far?
I have it quite unofficially 59-55 in favor of Bruno. As a matter of fact, I thought that was the first round that Smith won, and he won it right at the end because Bruno abandoned what's been doing so well for him, the left jab and the movement. Once he goes on the ropes and stands still, Bonecrusher's got a chance to land his haymakers. Low punch by Bonecrusher. They're punching very cleanly, no punches to the body.
And Smith, who was dictating the action a moment ago, was turned by Bruno and put onto the ropes. And again, the crowd reacts to every conceivable move, although not much is happening.
3 jabs by Bruno, and the crowd is on its feet. Bruno is now showing some signs of weariness. After that late 6th round belaboring, he's not as cocky as he was. He's not punching as hard. But then again, neither is Bonecrusher. Both showing great signs of weariness. Except that Bonecrusher can get off that one shot. Even as tired as he is, when he fires with a devastating quickness. But it's only one punch. He never follows it up. He hasn't got the energy to keep going. If one punch can do it. Oh.
And we saw the left, and he hurt Bruno. The combination by Smith.
And there goes Bruno saving himself with a left hook, with a left jab, and trying to move away.
And Bruno back with a chopping right, but he did not hurt Smith.
Great heavyweight action. They're trading punches. And Bruno's corner's got to be nervous when you trade with the Bonecrusher.
And they're chanting for Frank Bruno. Good left hand again by Smith.
Look how he triggers off those punches. Look at the Bonecrusher.
Final seconds. 6th round. We'll be right back.
He's got to be telling them, don't stand on those ropes, don't trade with them. Get in the middle of the ring, move, use your jab. You got this fight.
On to round 8.
The last 2 rounds have been Smith's because of the inactivity of most of the round, and then his flurries at the end, which were meaningful, strong, and hard punches. Bruno again letting himself get trapped on the ropes for no reason at all. Jab that he's pulling out there is nothing remotely like the one it was at the beginning of this fight. It's lazy, it's slow, tentative. If Bonecrusher has his second win, this could be a totally different fight. if there is more gas in that old gas tank, it could be some kind of finish to this fight.
Well, Bruno has never been extended past 7, so this is the longest that he has been forced to go. Bonecrusher has gone as many as 8. Won an 8-round decision over Chris McDonald.
For the first time, I see a look of worry etched on the face of Bruno. Frank Bruno, not looking as confident as he had before, not willing to risk it at all with the Bonecrusher. Those body shots, by the way, that Bonecrusher has been landing at the end of both rounds have taken their toll on Frank.
Bruno using the jab, but has not much going for him.
The jab is good if you're going to follow it with a right hand and a hook, but if you're just going to jab, nothing's happening. Just building up some points, but not much.
Good pity pat on the part of Frank Bruno.
Now, both these guys are very muscled up. These muscled up guys get tired. They burn up an awful lot of energy moving those big muscle masses.
Under a minute left. Round 8. There's a right hand thrown by Bruno. Not much impact on it.
But that's what should be following those jabs. That good right hand. It's about time for the Bonecrusher's cavalry charge here at the end. Blood still coming from the ear, and that little nick right on the earlobe of Bonecrusher Smith.
And closing in on 10 seconds left in this 8th round. It's been a walk-through 8th round. Both Bruno and Smith worn down. It is just past 10:30 here at the Wembley Arena in Wembley, England. The site of Marvin Hagler winning the middleweight title by beating Alan Minter. England's John Conti winning the world light heavyweight title here. And a heavyweight matchup between the 6'4" James Bonecrusher Smith in the red and 6'3" Frank Bruno in the blue. And what does the fight doctor's scorecard tell us?
I have it 78 to 75 or 5-1 in rounds. But remember, only the referee scores, and this crowd is so loud, and the roaring is so big. I wonder what effect that will have, this partisan crowd. I can't imagine them giving even a close fight to Bonecrusher, so Bonecrusher must feel the urgency. He must get a knockout to win here.
Referee is the sole arbiter, scores the fight, no judges involved, scoring on the 10-point must system, but the winner of a round usually gets a half a point or more than the loser of the round if it's close. So they deal here in fractions. A knockdown would make for a 1-point differential in most instances.
I must say, of the many, many years that I've come here and worked with fighters, one of the things that we always said in the boxing crowd, if you got to go to a foreign land, go to England, because they bend over backwards for you. But even here, with this 10,000 roaring people, and Harry Gibbs is a world-class referee, has refereed, I guess as many world championship matches as anybody. I don't think that would affect him too much. But still, it has to have some factor in the fight.
Not much happening right here. Two tired big men.
9 rounds of this for a big man. It is a marathon.
And Freddie, whatever happens from here on in for the much heralded Frank Bruno has to be a disappointment.
Well, depends on whether he wins or not. If he wins, when you consider you have a man like Evangelista ranked 10th in the world, Bruno is ranked 9th, by the way. You know there's a dearth of heavyweights. And he's 22-0 if he wins. He'll be 21-0 rather if he wins.
Non-action 9th round. Smith and Bruno just leaning on each other.
You know, you get the feeling they lull themselves into inactivity and then get hit.
Bruno did connect with the right hand. The immediate clinch by Smith as this round concludes. 10th and final round. We've had no knockdowns, and the crowd would like to see flailing away action. We have not seen much the last few rounds. Frank Bruno out of London, England, 22 years old in the blue, 20-0, all 20 by knockout. And James Bonecrusher Smith, 29 years old, from Magnolia, North Carolina, 13-1, 11 by KO.
And the Bonecrusher must know he needs a knockout here. He needs a spectacular round and a knockout. As so often happens in boxing, and we've seen over the last 4 years, when two punchers get together, somehow they never punch each other out. They just keep on fighting for 10 rounds. This isn't over yet, but they certainly both look weary enough to go to a decision.
Oh, good left hand by Smith, and he hurt Bruno.
Here it is again. Bruno is hurt. He keeps getting hit. His hands are down. The referee's going to stop it.
Smith putting Bruno down. About a minute and a half remaining in this 10th and final round. And referee Gibbs says that's it.
That's it.
James Bonecrusher Smith has stopped Frank Bruno in round 10. And look at the reaction of Bonecrusher Smith. It has not been a pleasant evening for the British.
I think I'm leaving early tonight. Both fights remarkably similar. The previous fight, the man losing completely was the one who won. And in this fight, Bonecrusher Smith losing completely. Desperation punch needed. And there the inexperience of Frank Bruno showed. Instead of grabbing, instead of holding, or instead of going down for a count, he's so far ahead, he stood there and took the punches. And that was the end of Frank Bruno. And you got to wonder what happens when you build a guy up that's 20-0 and all of a sudden he wakes up and says, uh-oh, this is boxing and it's a tough business.
Well, the critics, the British press, have been saying all along that Bruno has been fed a series of easy opponents. And James Bonecrusher Smith, at this point, not to be confused with Larry Holmes or Jerry Coetzee, but still a step up in quality, able to stop Frank Bruno with the barrage midway through the 10th round. So much for the heralded Frank Bruno.
You will watch. He has his hands down and is totally defenseless after this punch. His hands are down. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anywhere in here they could have stopped it. 6, 7. Finally, Harry Gibbs steps in only to count over the prostate form of Frank Bruno.
Bonecrusher Smith making it 14-1, 12 by knockout. We'll be back in a moment. Well, they're still cheering for Frank Bruno, a vote of confidence. He was just stopped by Bonecrusher Smith in round 10, and the fight doctor is in the ring alongside Bonecrusher.
No question about it. This has got to be the biggest thrill of your life.
Yes, sir. He had me puzzled. He was running me crazy with that jab. The best jab I've ever been in front of. I couldn't. Griffith kept telling me, going to the body, going to the body. I was trying, but he was running me crazy with that jab.
Now, you look so fatigued all through the fight. How in the world did you suck it up there in that last round?
Well, he was telling me a lot of things to do. You know, we knew we were behind on points. I was a little confused. Last round, I told him, let me do it my way. So he did. He didn't say a word. And I went out. I knew if he stopped on the ropes, I had him.
Were you surprised, with all the motion he gave you, that he stopped on the ropes and let you punch like that?
I was surprised, yeah. If he'd have kept moving, I'd have been in trouble. I'd have lost the fight. But he stopped. Lord bless me. He stopped on the ropes. Nobody can stop in front of me.
That's right.
Well, it was a very big win Very big win indeed for you in London and also for your fellow countryman Buster Drayton. And on that note, I'll return it to Marv Albert at ringside.
All right, Ferdy, not a pleasant day for British boxing fans. Earlier, it was British middleweight champ Mark Taylor stopped by Buster Drayton in round 7. Incidentally, the referee, Harry Jacobs, confused people by picking Taylor up after one of the knockdowns. We attempted to talk with the referee, but the British Boxing Union does not permit interviews with officials following the fight. So, quite a day here at Wembley Arena. Not a good one, as we said, for the British. Marv Albert with Bertie Pacheco. Right now, let's go to Charlie Jones at the UCLA